Good evening, Canada. Haver UpLay here. This is a special edition. Wednesday, February the 4th, 2026, 6:58 in the evening, and Albertans' phone lights up. Hi, it's Bert. I'm volunteering with Alberta's NDP, who authorized this message. Life keeps getting more expensive, and it feels like Danielle Smith doesn't care. I believe Naheed Nenshi has our backs and will fight to keep more money in our pockets. Can we count on your support in the next election? There is one problem with Bert's message. The people who received it are not NDP members. They never signed up. They never gave the party their number. They did not ask to be in anyone's database. They did not consent to be contacted. And yet, on a Wednesday evening in February, Bert had their number. Bert was in their phone. Bert was speaking on behalf of Alberta's NDP, to people Alberta's NDP had no business calling. Hold on to Bert, because there is a second text. Tuesday, April the 21st, 2026. 11:36 in the morning. A different Albertan's phone lights up. A separation referendum is looking almost certain this fall. We can't sit on the sidelines. That's why we launched For Alberta, for Canada, a new campaign to fight back. We need every proud Albertan and proud Canadian with us. Join us and take action now at foralbertaforcanada.ca. Authorized by Alberta NDP. 1-800-465-6587. The person who received that message posted it on X with one question. How'd they get my phone number? They are not an NDP member. They never signed up for NDP communications. They never gave the party their number. And yet on a Tuesday morning in April, the Alberta NDP, authorized by the Alberta NDP, toll-free number right there in the message, was in their phone. Now I want you to look at that date very carefully. April the 21st, 9 days before the court order against the Centurion Project, and 4 days after Naheed Nenshi says his party immediately alerted authorities about the alleged voter data breach. The NDP raised the alarm about voter data being used to contact citizens on April the 17th, and 4 days later sent unsolicited texts to non-NDP Albertans using voter data to campaign against the Alberta independence movement, the same independence movement whose voter data use they had just reported to the authorities. Same voter lists. Same unauthorized contact of non-members. Same intrusion into a phone nobody invited them into. One version the NDP reported to authorities, the other version the NDP authorized. Because today, May the 1st, 2026, Naheed Nenshi released a statement. He is calling for an emergency meeting of the Standing Committee on Legislative Offices. He wants the Chief Electoral Officer summoned to appear before MLAs and testify. He is demanding the UCP reverse Bill 54. Legislation that, he says, weakened Elections Alberta's investigative powers. He says Elections Alberta must provide Albertans with a clear public update. He says the UCP must provide a comprehensive update on actions the government will be taking and actions Albertans should take to protect themselves. And then he said this: Albertans deserve to feel confident that their personal information is protected, that our democratic institutions are acting swiftly and transparently, and that our elections are secure. Albertans deserve to feel confident that their personal information is protected. I want to sit with that sentence for a moment, because Bert was in your phone on February the 4th. Now, I want to be precise about something. Political parties in Alberta receive the voter list, which contains your name, your address, your phone number, for purposes authorized under the Election Act. Voter contact for electoral purposes is one of those authorized uses. Using the list to text voters asking for their support may technically sit within that authorization. I will grant that. But Naheed Nenshi is not making a technical argument today. He is not citing a specific regulatory clause. He is invoking a principle. He is saying that Albertans deserve to feel confident their personal information is protected. He is saying that being contacted using your private data without your knowledge or consent is a serious matter requiring emergency legislative action. That principle does not know which party sent the text. If an independence-linked group using voter data to contact citizens who didn't ask to be contacted is an emergency requiring 7 police cars at their meeting and wall-to-wall media coverage, then a question worth asking is how Bert got your number at 6:58 on a Wednesday evening in February. Now let me tell you something else about the NDP's relationship with other people's private data. Thomas Dang was a member of the NDP caucus. He was an MLA representing Edmonton South. And in September of 2021, while serving as a sitting elected official, he deliberately hacked Alberta's COVID-19 vaccine records portal. Not by accident. Not through negligence. Deliberately, with planning, he obtained Jason Kenney's birth date publicly available and used it to break through the site's privacy safeguards. He accessed private health information that Albertans had provided to their government in confidence. The judge who sentenced him was clear. What Dang did was not impulsive. It was planned and deliberate, and it continued over several days. He pleaded guilty to a charge under the Health Information Act. His fine was $7,200. $7,200. A sitting member of the NDP caucus hacked a provincial database containing private health records. Planned, deliberate, several days. And walked out of court with a fine that amounts to roughly what a working Albertan earns in 6 weeks. Same party. Different years, same relationship with the boundary between their purposes and your private information. And there is one more story I need to tell you, one that was in none of the newspapers that ran the Centurion Project story wall to wall. The Alberta Teachers Association, the same political organization running $1.1 million in NDP, aligned third-party advertising while calling itself nonpartisan, sent its May Day member update to 51,000 teachers. They called it a survey on classroom complexity. They asked teachers to fill it out, except the government already has this data, collected after the October 2025 strike specifically to understand classroom complexity. The ATA acknowledged that in their own update. So Time for Choice Alberta asked the question the media wouldn't if the government already has it, why collect it again? The ATA's answer was in their own words. The data will be used to inform association advocacy. Not for teachers, not for students, for the campaign. Then Alberta school boards issued a warning. Sharing this data with the ATA may constitute a privacy breach by the teacher doing the sharing. Under actual privacy legislation, the ATA's response: complete the survey on your personal device. Refrain from using employer infrastructure. 51,000 teachers coached on how to potentially breach privacy law. 0 front pages, 0 cameras. On the same day, the Centurion Project was everywhere. Now, I want to say something plainly about the Centurion Project, and I mean this. If you are going to fight for the future of this province, you fight clean, full stop. No shortcuts, no gray areas, not on data, not on anything. The independence movement has to be held to the same standard it demands of the institutions it is challenging. That standard does not bend. Let the process work. The right way matters. But let's look at what happened on the same day in the same province under the same laws. 7 police cars at the Centurion Project's public meeting. Every newspaper running the story within hours. Politicians posting before the ink was dry on the court order. Bert texting non-NDP. Albertans on a Wednesday evening in February, 0 coverage. Thomas Dang hacking health records over several deliberate days and paying a $7,000 fine. 1 news cycle and done. The ATA coaching 51,000 teachers to potentially breach privacy law in service of a political campaign, not a single front page. That is not a coincidence. That is a decision. Now here's the big picture. Naheed Nenshi says that Albertans deserve to feel confident that their personal information is protected. He is right. You did not ask for Bert's text. You did not ask Thomas Dang to spend several days inside your COVID vaccine records. You did not ask the ATA to coach your teacher on how to slip data past your school board's privacy safeguards. And you did not ask Naheed Nenshi to decide which data violations get emergency hearings and which ones don't make the news. The filter is not broken. It is working exactly as designed. The story that is everywhere tells you who the institutions want you to watch. The story that is nowhere tells you who the institutions are protecting. The loudest voice in the room about your data is the one that was already in your phone. Bert knew. The For Alberta for Canada campaign knew. The only people who weren't supposed to know were you. How'd they get your phone number? That is the question a contributor on X asked after the April 21st text landed in their inbox. It is the right question, and it does not stop at the Centurion Project. Now you know. The filter only works if you trust it. And now you see the big picture? Click the subscribe button to follow us and join us every weekday. Hover UpLay, signing out.